Hello, and happy week 7. You are more than halfway through this program and halfway through the modules, which is insane. So, going into an overview of what this specific module in week 7 is going to talk about is number 1, coping your emotions with kindness. Number 2, discovering the satisfaction factor. And 3, going into our 5th variable training manipulation method, which is holds and pulses. So let's get into it. So, coping your emotions with kindness. We're going to talk about emotional eating and finding a way to cope with your emotions rather than leaning on food for comfort. So, food is a very common go-to for feelings such as anxiety, boredom, a reward, emptiness, excitement, loneliness, frustration, perfectionism, depression, stress, and rebellion. So the food might provide a short-term comfort, distraction, or numbing, but at the end of the day, it's not going to solve all your problems. It's not going to solve any problems. So often people overeat as a way of distracting themselves from these kinds of feelings. And instead of now just dealing with the source of the emotion, they have to deal with the discomfort of overeating as well. So hitting two birds with one stone in a negative way, which is never fun. So being more mindful of both food and emotions can help you identify triggers and find healthy ways to cope when negative feelings arise. You can do this by learning to sit with your feelings, which is much easier said than done. So in the next couple slides, we'll go in depth about some coping mechanisms for the feelings that were listed above and some other options besides leaning towards food as that coping mechanism. So start by asking yourself, what am I feeling right now? Learning to pause and take the time to identify your emotional triggers can help you connect your eating with hunger and satisfaction rather than feelings. So even if you decide to eat even though you're not really hungry, taking a minute to think about this question still makes it a more mindful eating experience. Remember, this habit is something that will acquire gradually over a period of time. You're not just going to think about your feelings and other coping mechanisms aside from food one time and then automatically have it under control. This is a gradual, day by day habit that you will learn to pick up and acquire over a period of time. So after 5 to 10 minutes, ask yourself, what do I really need right now? Is eating going to satisfy you? It may. You might be hungry. Then you should eat. But are you turning to food to fill a different need? Are you bored, frustrated, stressed, anxious, depressed, looking to fit in, or using it as a means of control? Once you've identified what you truly need in that moment, ask yourself, how can I fulfill this need and this feeling without turning to food? So if you need nurturance, you might take a bath, do some yoga, move your body. If you need to distract yourself for a little bit, maybe watch a movie, read a book, or maybe you just need to let out the emotions and cry. Um, on the next slide, there are a few different coping strategies that we'll talk about, just so you can lean towards something else and experiment with some things rather than going to the kitchen and grabbing food to comfort those feelings. So if you're feeling depressed or lonely, calling someone who always makes you feel better, playing with your animals, looking at a favorite photo, reminding yourself of those good memories. If you're feeling anxious, expending your nervous energy by dancing to your favorite song, squeezing a stress ball, taking a walk, or movement of any type is going to be amazing for those anxious feelings. Now, if you're feeling exhausted, treating yourself with a hot cup of tea, taking a bath, lighting some scented candles, or wrapping yourself in a warm blanket to aid in those sensory feelings that'll really help with feeling of exhaustion. And then lastly, if you're bored, reading a book, watching a comedy show, exploring the outdoors, or return to an activity you enjoy, whether that be art, hikes, baking, cooking, etc. This is going to be an experimentation process. So writing down things that you love to do and then kind of dispersing them amongst these four categories and hanging them up somewhere in your room or somewhere in your phone is really going to help when you're feeling these things and want to try something else to cope with these feelings rather than leaning towards food. And then in this right hand picture is a couple other different examples that you can write down in your list as well. Now, discovering the satisfaction factor. So, diet plans have stripped away the pleasure from eating experiences, but you can find joy in eating again, which is a key element in intuitive eating. So, when you think about food, how often does your personal satisfaction come into play? Do you ask yourself what might taste good, or do you tend to put aside the foods you must enjoy for healthier alternatives? Um, a few elements of the satisfaction factor with food can be taste, texture, temperature, environment, visual elements, and hunger slash fullness level. So, some examples of having yourself start to feel that satisfaction factor is add some color variety. So, what is more appealing? A bowl of oatmeal with berries, honey, and nuts, or a bowl of oatmeal with some nuts on top? Adding some berries tends to elevate the meal both in taste and appearance. Put it on a plate or bowl that heightens your senses. A takeout container isn't that visually inspiring. Bring out the cute ass plate. Number three, surroundings and environment. And then there's the satisfaction we derive from our eating experience overall. What is your eating environment like, and does that affect your satisfaction? Here are a few suggestions to make that eating environment more pleasant. Clear the table. Eating with a stack of papers and books around you tends to emit a not so subtle message while you are trying to enjoy this meal. Adding something to increase the visual appeal, perhaps some flowers or the flickering light of a candle. Trying some subtle smells, so citrus, cinnamon, um, lighting a candle will add some joy to that experience as well. And then lastly, sounds. Some music like meditation music, um, classical music can really help you ease into the moment, focus on the present, and focus on satisfying yourself with the food that's in front of you. Um, so keep in mind that while music can really heighten your senses and help increase your satisfaction with your meals, TV, cell phones, and tablets and books will distract you from your meal. And at the end of the day, this satisfaction factor comes from being focused in the present, being completely in the moment, focusing on how you're enjoying the meal rather than focusing on something else outside of the meal. And then lastly, your level of hunger. So as you continue to practice with your hunger and fullness levels, you'll start to notice that you have different eating experiences based on your level of hunger when you start eating. At level 1, you might eat so quickly to relieve your intense hunger that you barely even taste or appreciate your food. A little below that, your full stomach might prevent you from really enjoying the experience from a physical standpoint. And then towards the other side of the spectrum, maybe a level 3, you may be hungry enough to physically want to eat and be able to eat at a pace that allows your full senses to be involved. So here's your step-by-step plan for increasing your satisfaction with food. 1, pick one meal or one snack each day that you're going to start with. For 3 to 4 days this week at your chosen meal or snack, commit to increasing satisfaction in a couple ways. Start by picking one or two from the different elements below. So, environment, visual, sound, taste and texture, and hunger and fullness. Before you begin, take a moment or two to observe your meal and your surroundings, so being fully present in that moment. Reflect on and journal about what gives you positive feelings in this moment so that you can always come back to it and remember how the satisfaction feels when you're actually enjoying the meal or snack that's in front of you. So now going into variable training method number 5, holds and pulses. We've done both of these before, but for week 7, we're kind of combining both. So this week's variable is all about stability and time under tension. Remember, time under tension emphasizes that mind to muscle connection in order to keep your focus on feeling the specific muscles that are being targeted. So for week 1, we'll have a 2-second hold at the top of the movement. For set 2, we'll have 5 pulses on the last rep, no tempo here, no holds. And then on set 3, we'll have, again, a 2-second hold at the top of the movement. And then we're incorporating the second set variable with those 5 pulses on the last rep. So just combining the two. If you have any questions about either of the intuitive eating principles we talked about today, how to implement it into your weekly or daily routine, just let me know. Text me, call me with any of your questions, as well as any questions with this 5th variable training method. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you